Let's come back to the studio here. I told you we want to look at the hospitality industry, how it was impacted by COVID-19 and how it remained resilient. And we're talking to the country manager for Fairmont Hotels. This is Mehdi Morad. He's been here before, and of course, I'm sure you like his conversation. They announced, by the way, yesterday that one of the oldest hotels in Kenya, that is the Fairmont Hotel, or this is just not right opposite KBC, that is the Norfolk Hotel. They are opening on the 4th of next month. Yes, we'll discuss that plus more. Thank you, Mehdi, for finding time to be with us. First of all, let me take you back to May of 2020 when you announced that you're shuttering your businesses at the Norfolk, the Mara, and Mount Kenya. And, at that time there was a lot of confusion and a lot of uncertainty in the hospitality industry. I mean, how did you arrive at that, I must admit, very, very sad decision?
It hit us. We really didn't have much choice, sadly. Within days after the announcement from the government of shutting down the airlines, all the airspace for Kenya, no more visitors. Mm-hmm. These are hotels that rely a lot on international business back then. And even for the local business, like for Mount Kenya and recently Mara, there was also restriction of movements. Nobody can come out of Nairobi. So very quickly it was clear, because within few days you went from decent occupancies or acceptable occupancies to 0 guests. Mm-hmm. So every guest that checks out, that was leaving, was not replaced. So very quickly in Norfolk, I remember, by the 1st of April, we were on 2 guests, and mid-April we had no more guests in the hotel. So the decision came very obviously. There's no business you can sustain without any streamline of revenue. So we had to start negotiation and discussion with our employees, with our owners, investors, and take that very, very hard decision indeed.
Mm-hmm. And what was the reaction of employees?
Sadly, there was a lot of confusion. I wish communication was better back then, mm-hmm. but there was so much uncertainty, so much risks. Everybody was afraid. Nobody is aware of what was coming next and so on. So, not to the best the first days, as you could read here, but that's very old and the story, that's the story. Then we managed to have proper conversations, agreements, and then understanding. And I really, really warmly thank our employees that have been waiting during all this period, because we're recalling our employees. We're not, in Norfolk, for example, we're talking about the Norfolk. Mm-hmm. 90% of the employees that will reopen the hotel are the same employees that were at the closing time, mm-hmm. Except the ones who left for other opportunities. We supported, some of them found jobs abroad, some found jobs here in our other properties, also in Kenya, and we sustained them to the best we could with the Accor Artist Fund, which was a stipend we've been giving on a regular basis. But still, it was very hard, and I really, really thank them for the amazing efforts, because without them and without their sacrifices, we will not be opening today.
What would you attribute the breakdown in communication between you and your employees to?
Sadly, back then I was not yet in charge. I became in charge of the hotel when the problem started. So, but then, there's a lot of confusion. I think confusion was one, even the people communicating, even the management didn't know what was coming. We were not clear. We were not knowing what's coming next. Was it a week? Was it 2 weeks? Was it 3 weeks? So there was a lot of confusion, and also, you remember, COVID back then, be it the government, be it any institution, nobody knew where we were heading. We were betting on 2-3 months closure, 2-3 months of crisis, and we're gone. All that didn't happen. Now, we can rewrite the story, but definitely. And then maybe some people didn't want to come to the table of negotiation. They thought that coercion would work, and it didn't work on both sides. And good that we came to real negotiation. I must say something also about Kenya. I'm amazed about the unions. Unions are very, very constructive comparing to other countries. They've been very, very instrumental into fixing the problem and finding an agreement with all the employees.
Mm-hmm. What kind of an agreement did you come up with?
So there was the obvious, sadly, one. So we agreed finally. Maybe a letter was gone from us that was wrong back then, but then we came to an agreement where there was 2 options. There was a voluntary leave Whoever wanted to leave, there was a package offered and so on. And there was also a possibility of remaining under the payroll and having that stipend, as we said, the supports we could, the medical for a while and so on. And that's the agreement that people took, most of them. And I think we're going to recall, really, I can easily say 90% of the people at the opening were employees, and were employees all through that closing time.
Now that you're planning to reopen, especially the Norfolk and Mount
Kenya also coming soon.
What will change, or what is going to be different?
Oh, a lot of things. Actually, a lot of things. COVID have taught us a lot. Our guests have different expectations. Guests are a lot, because pretty much everyone in the world have been locked down at a moment or another. Be it a month, be it a year, be it still 2.5 years for the Asian people who can still not travel. So people want experiences, want new things, want nature. And where is a better country for nature and experiences than Kenya? And where do you find such beautiful places and destinations like we have in Masai Mara or in Mount Kenya or Conservancy and so on? So I believe we are reinventing ourselves for that thing. Health-wise, the new COVID restrictions, or let's say the measures, some will remain. Of course, we don't shake hands easily. We go and wash hands more often. We all took new habits, and that will translate in our hospitality. But one thing I'm really looking forward is when we remove the mask, because hospitality is about smiling, and we're tired of smiling behind the masks.
Yes, and the beauty of it is that somehow these restrictions are being relaxed, and we are hoping that I will get to a point whereby we can get off the mask so that we can go back to a smiling nature.
Absolutely.
Now, tell me this. You cannot talk about the history of Kenya, without talking a little bit about the Norfolk Hotel.
Yes.
It's the oldest establishment hotel in the Republic of Kenya. In Nairobi, actually. Yes. Started in 1904, and it has a lot of historical linkages with the birth of the Republic of Kenya. Yes. Did you get so many reactions from, especially, your royal customers?
It's not only for the Norfolk, actually. You're going to be amazed. Norfolk and Mount Kenya, there's not one day where not somebody asking me when I'm reopening them. There's not one day. Norfolk is linked to the history of the Republic of Kenya. But so was Mount Kenya, where President Kenyatta back then have hidden there for a while during the revolution time, and when we get in for the building of the republic. So there's even the Boma where he was and so on. So there's a lot of history, but there's also people who've been coming there for 30 years and more. So these people, they ask you, and of course we are looking very much forward to bring it back, but to bring also back new things, because Norfolk, you're going to be welcome to come even before the opening to check. You will not recognize the entrance. As much as we're going back to the history in the renovation. You're going to see that.
When you look at the almost 2 years that you have been out of business, how much losses would you say you have incurred?
Oh, I don't want to throw a number because I don't have it out of my mind, but a lot, obviously a lot. When you've heard certainly about the new owners, there's been so many rumors and so on, but there are owners who bought the hotel, the Norfolk, and Masai Mara Safari Club. And when they joined, they bought the hotel with the intention of injecting capital for the renovation as the hotel keeps open. And out of a sudden, they reach, and then the hotel closes. So you can imagine that these losses were not expected.
And, talking about the new owners, you came into the industry when the COVID-19 was taking a toll on the global economy, when hotels were shuttering. And this was like akin to throwing a new swimmer into the deep end and expecting them to survive. Yes. Did you feel that at first?
Me personally not, because I was the general manager of the Movenpick Hotel. So I was here before. So hopefully I managed to see Kenya prior to that, to that global downturn. But the new owners, indeed, they just reached, they signed, I think, in end of March, if my memory is right.
Yes.
And right after.
Actually, around 27th March.
And 27, they signed on 25th. 27th, we closed the country.
You closed down.
That's the thing. So yeah, definitely it was a difficult time. But anyway, that's the past. We want to be positive. We want to concentrate on the future. It's going to be a very good one.
Very good one. Tell me this, when you look at the three establishments, the Mount Kenya Safari Club, the Norfolk, and of course the Mara, which one would you say sustains your business?
They're really on one hand, they're independent, but on the other hand, they're interconnected. Yep. Basically, most of the series coming from the US, the guest who comes from the US would land in Nairobi, spends a night or two in Norfolk, goes to Mount Kenya, then goes to Mara, or vice versa, goes to Mara, then to Mount Kenya.
So it comes as a package?
Yeah, it comes as a package, for most of the international guests at least. Now, Mount Kenya has a massive local market. It's one of the hotels that gets most of them, whose clientele is mostly local, which is also fantastic.
Oh, really?
So, yeah. You know, Mount Kenya reopening, because there was a lot of also repositioning of the property and so on, it took us a bit longer than we wanted. But globally, that hotel, most of the people asking me about Mount Kenya are local guests who want to go back to their Mount Kenya, as usual. Masai Mara is a very specific, as you know, Masai Mara. We're not into the Masai Mara Game Reserve. We are into a conservancy, which is an amazing experience, a bit different from the, because it's more exclusive, less cars, high quality tourism, low impact on nature, but also very connected to the community. They're all, let's be clear, they're all profitable businesses. They were at least all profitable businesses. Let's hope the future carries the same for us. But they are, they're independent. I cannot really compare them, but that's the position.
Mehdi, I mean, 2 years, you have been out of business.
Yes.
Other hotels have opened long time ago.
Yes.
People who you're in business with. Why has it taken you 2 years, to reopen?
There were a few questions. Depends on the hotels. Some hotels are dependent on different markets. We never closed our Movenpick hotel in Nairobi. We never closed our IB Styles hotel in Nairobi because there's a lot of corporate business that goes into these hotels. That was one. Now, it's a reality also because of the losses that we incurred. Funding for reopening and works because we didn't want to open the same hotel that we closed 2 years ago.
Yeah.
So that took a bit of time, plus some discussions, but hopefully we are there now. But, I will say something. It's the first time I close hotels in my career, and it's been 22 years, and maybe 15 hotels or 10 hotels I worked for, I can't count it like this. But we open hotels, that's what we do. So when
you're not in the business of closing hotels.
We're not in the business of closing hotels. So when we closed the hotel, I can remember the discussions we were having with the head office. We didn't know how to do it. What should we do? Because we don't close hotels. Hotels can be sold, rebranded, but how many times you heard of hotel closing? So that was a very unusual and unexpected event. And we hope all that it's a one-time that happens in the history of the humankind. But it was a struggle to reopen because also we were not ready to close.
Look, when you look at, the three of your brands, or would I say, first of all, let me first of all talk about the two brands, the Norfolk and the Mount Kenya, Safari Club. They are very old establishment and, they have a long history and they have a very well-established clientele. But the world is changing. Now you have staycations, now you have... Airbnb, coming up. And the modern day tourist is not just looking at a place where they can spend the night. They're looking for something more or much bigger than that. And there is a feeling that somehow your establishment never changed with the changing times.
But that's also one of the reasons we took more time to open before opening them. And I'm looking forward to announce for the Mount Kenya, to give you an example, all the set of experiences. We really moved away from a hotel from a normal hotel, the hotel that you used to know, to a hotel within a conservancy, providing a wide selection of experiences. We breed in the mountain bongos over there. We are the only place where mountain bongos are breeded because we want to do a rewild and a reintroduction. So we're working about experiences, about that rewilding, that reintroduction. So guests will be able to really get to do just the same way gorilla tracking is happening into Uganda and Rwanda. We are establishing the bongo tracking into the wild. So there's a lot of experiences that are going to come back. When it comes to the Norfolk, you're going to see the whole arrival experience, even the sitting area. You used to have the bar alone, Chin Chin. It used to be a historical place, by the way. It used to be very busy in the time, then it went down, and then you had... I don't know if you remember, we used to have a piano bar. The piano bar is coming back.
Oh, it's coming back?
Yes, opening on Chin Chin. I don't want to say too much because I'm sure I'm going to invite you, KBC. Then the next time I'm going to do an interview, I'm going to do it inside the Norfolk. I'd be happy to have you there. We're going to do it from that new areas.
Let me ask you this. I mean, how are you planning to cope with the competition, especially coming with a new establishment? We've seen an upsurge in the number of rooms in Nairobi, and this has also suppressed, the cost per room.
Yes.
And, when I was looking at, IATA, where they were saying that, the cost of a room in Nairobi has come down by about 40% in the last 3 years. Have you felt the impact of that?
So, you see, let me speak about my open hotels. Let me speak about Mara Safari Club. Fairmont Mara Safari Club, we opened in July. Actually, our average rate is still the same. Our occupancy went a bit down, but this year is amazingly promising. You see, again, as you said very rightfully, it's not any hotels. These are iconic hotels of Kenya. And because you have the repeating guests, but you also have the repeating client, and you have the market. You take the US market, we are the leaders on the US market, we've always been, and the market is expecting us back. And we have not changed our rates, actually. The rates are still the same.
They're still the same?
Yeah, the rates that we have contracted for 2022 are the rates we are selling today. That hasn't changed. We didn't have to drop the rates. Now, if you take the existing hotels, Ibis Hotels have done his best rates since the opening these last 3 months.
Oh.
Yes, and so did Movenpick Hotel. So no, dumping the rates in the market doesn't take you anywhere.
But Ibis is more of a budget hotel for you?
Absolutely.
And Movenpick is more of what you would call
business hotel.
Business hotel.
Absolutely, premium business hotel.
Premium business hotel. So the ratings of the two has to be classified as very different from the others.
It is.
So when you look at Ibis and when you look at Movenpick, and this is where you have a lot of new development, coming in with new hotels.
We have new hotels coming also. Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
We do.
Have you felt the impact of competition on that?
I mean, as I said, competition on the occupancy, not on the rate. Because you don't, by dropping your rates, you're not going to create a new market. You're just going to sell to your market at a lower rate, which doesn't make really sense. But you have to be innovative. You're talking about Ibis. Ibis is a budget hotel. But have you been to that hotel?
Yeah.
In the restaurant? On the weekend, if you don't book 2 weeks in advance, you will not get a seat. Because they created that lifestyle of a budget. But when it comes to the food, it's one of the most amazing nyama choma restaurants in any hotels in Kenya. Now, when you take Movenpick, the revolving restaurant, same story. So it is about that. It used to be a Swiss restaurant, if you remember. And we changed that. We went into Mediterranean, and it's been a fantastic success story. So it is about innovation. You have to keep innovating, and then hopefully you're going to mitigate the impact of more rooms coming.
And three of your iconic brands, that is the Mara, Mount Kenya, and Norfolk, they're not very big on conference.
Absolutely.
Are you planning to upscale these? Because, look, when you look at the mice, the mice business in Kenya, it's the third biggest in Africa, and it is projected to continue growing at a rate of 20%. Why do you want to be left out of this growth?
So we don't, actually. Basically, you see, Movenpick is definitely the leader hotel in Nairobi for the mice. So that's a market that we know very, very well. Now, Mount Kenya cannot sustain big mice groups, and that's not the intention, because the rooms limit you. But Mount Kenya is a dream destination for every person who's making a wedding. You're preparing a wedding, you want to be in Mount Kenya. And there's only that many weekends in the year, so people book years in advance. We have bookings for next year and for even 2024 position for Mount Kenya. Yeah, always been the story. And we're bringing new experiences into the conservancy and so on to make that moment even, because you want it memorable. So we want to make it even more memorable for you. So no, the intention is not to compete on that. For Masai Mara, as I said before, we're looking at low impact, high quality. If you start to bring groups, then you're not reaching that. You have to walk the talk of what you promise to your guests. So no, we're not looking for that one neither. Now, for the Norfolk, has been historically one of the biggest supplier of outside catering, because on the ground the space is limited. You know how CBD is, and CBD is a very expensive place to expand. We're looking to upgrade our existing facilities, but we're going to put a massive effort on the outside catering, where we come and do it wherever you need us. It's going to be the Fairmont signature with amazing chefs, and we come and do it with our service wherever you are.
And the other thing about, the Norfolk Hotel is the fact that, having built in 1904, it can't be classified as a modern, a hotel with a modern feel.
Yes.
Do you plan to remodel the Norfolk, you know, to look, you know, to have that historical feeling,
yes,
but still with a futuristic touch?
Exactly. It's not futuristic because you want to respect the history, but we want a fresh history. So you want to take the history, refresh it, and provide it. Because you cannot, we have no intention of becoming modern in Norfolk. It can't be.
That has never been in your
No, we don't want that. But we want to have a fresh-looking hotel with the actual designs, but respecting and carrying the history of that hotel. And that's what we are, I hope. And I just walked out of there this morning to come to you, because it's across the road. And I'm very happy with what I'm seeing, because now, you know, it was all about works. Now we start to see things back on the wall.
Yeah.
It's not back, but new things on the wall. And it's really beautiful.
I mean, look, when the ownership of you know, the Norfolk and the Mara and Mount Kenya exchanged hands, there were reports that there were plans to bring down the Norfolk Hotel and put up a multi-storied hotel. Was that the case?
No, never. It's been just a rumor. I heard also it's going to become, what was it? Was it a retirement house, then hospital and everything? Oh, just for the record, Mount Kenya has not changed ownership. It's still the same owner. It didn't change. It's
just the Mara.
Norfolk and Mara, yeah. But no, none of these plans were, this all rumors, not coming from us. Somebody, sadly, either badly intentioned or not knowing, tried to make up a story.
Very well. And look, when you decided to close down indefinitely, I mean, you did not have an idea as to when you are coming back into business.
Yes.
And the Norfolk Hotel, you know, being a significant hotel in the sense that it has it shares in the heritage of this nation.
Oh, yes.
Did the government consult you?
I mean, government has extended help. Let's be fair. The Minister of Tourism, Honorary C.S. Balala, came to us, asked us how can they help. No, there have been a lot of discussions, and also, of course, wondering. It came up to the highest places in the state, asking us what's happening and so on. Sadly, as we said back then, and they were aware of it also. Huh? I mean, everyone when we closed the country back then also, we never expected to be more than a month. It was 1 month. Then that month became 6 months. And we kept extending. In our position as a business, you cannot just say, I'm closing 1 month and extend every month, because your partners suffer. So you say indefinitely until you come back.
So now that you're coming back, how is the excitement and how are you expecting to be received back into the market?
I mean, it's amazing. Amazing. I mean, for the first excitement is us, employees of the hotel. Be it all the employees or myself, seeing the smiling faces in the middle of the hotel today, preparing for the reopening, everybody running, but happy. That's one thing. Now, the clients, of course, are expecting us. So, you know, when we issued that letter 2 days ago, that you've seen, so many calls, so many encouragement calls, support, and so on. So we're really, really happy, and the excitement is really there. And you called me immediately. Say, come, meet us. Exactly.
Tell me things. I mean, a lot of things have changed, definitely, you know, since you closed the operations, you know, about 2 years ago. How do you expect the market to receive you? Because a lot of things have changed, definitely, in the hospitality industry.
Well, the good news is we've been really taking the temperature all throughout the time. And, you know, we have other hotels open. So no big risk from there. We don't see much of challenge. And, of course, one of the biggest challenge we're going to all see is what's coming next. We have this year is a year of elections. It's also, you've seen what's happening, the very, very sad events happening in Ukraine now with the war over there. There's a lot of things. I mean, now petrol is going very high. Then, you know, we are not independent business. Hospitality is not independent. We are interdependent to everything. If the food goes up, we feed it. If the petrol goes out, we feed it. Now look what's happening with the flights. Flights are increasing. I mean, if you a flight from Dubai to Nairobi have just taken a 20% up on the rates since this week, because of the petrol, because of the restriction on Emirates not having enough flights back to Kenya. all these kind of things. So we're impacted by pretty much everything.
Very good. I mean, I want us, first of all, I want you to hold your thought on that, because the Ukraine crisis, of course, is another game changer, you know, altogether in the hospitality industry, and of course, in the geopolitics of the world. We'll be discussing that because that is going to be a very interesting conversation with you. Look here, we're having this conversation on how the hospitality industry is re-emerging from the COVID crisis, and we are in the company of Mehdi Morad. He's the general manager for Fairmont Hotels and also the country manager for Accor. And this conversation, of course, we've been having it for the last 30 or 35 minutes. We are also here. We are tracking the performance of the hospitality industry. In the last 45 minutes or so, we've been talking to Mehdi Morad. He's the country director for Fairmont Hotels. Remember yesterday, they issued a report or a statement that the Norfolk Hotel is opening on the 2nd of April this year. That's less than a month from now. And so he's here with us. We're almost winding up, but not before we talk about the geopolitics, Ukraine and Russia. The two are in conflict. How do you expect these to impact the hospitality industry here in Kenya? Bearing in mind that for the first time in 80 years, fuel prices, global oil prices, you know, have gone up to around $115 a barrel.
So the conflict itself, the very, very sad conflict, let me start by there, because I lived in both countries. I lived in Ukraine and I lived in Russia, and I have very close friends on both sides. It's very, very, very sad to see what's happening now. Now, as a result, except for all the horrible things, so, I mean, the life losses, economically, Europe will be impacted mostly, not Kenya. You know, Russian and Ukrainian business to Kenya has never been very strong. There were some, new arrivals, if you remember. Was it in October or November? I remember the first flight coming directly from Ukraine. Then another one was from Russia, and so on and so on. But that remains a limited percentage of visitors for Kenya. Now, that hiking in the prices of the fuel, that's gonna really, airline company, we are very, very dependent on the airlines because nobody comes to you by boat. People fly into Kenya. So we are dependent on the airlines, and they are suffering big time. And that will, they're already coming out of a very, very difficult period with very weak balance sheets. And, they used to take this guarantee on oil prices that they all dropped because at a certain point during COVID, it went so down, it was not making sense anymore. So they're going to all get that effect as a ripple effect that will translate into the flight tickets price. And then, of course, some companies will not survive this crisis, I guess. So no, it will definitely it is a heavy threat on our summer business that is very big. Then that's definitely going to be an impact, sadly.
You see, the beauty of it is that, you are in Ukraine when, Russia also moved into Ukraine and hived off, the Crimea.
Yes.
It was slapped with severe sanctions by the West.
Yes.
Whether they have worked or they haven't, the jury is still out there. But now, with the new restrictions, the fact that, Russia has been, some of Russia's banks, they have been removed from the SWIFT global financial system. Some countries cannot deal with Russia, the way they used to. And also, bearing in mind that, Kenya had taken a deliberate effort to market itself, to Russia, Ukraine, and the Far East nations. Yes. So do you expect to see, some significant impact, going forward, even as you plan to reopen?
I mean, the real question will be which sanctions will Kenya take? Is Kenya taking sanctions? Are they forbidding any flights? I mean, nobody's going to come out of Ukraine or Russia, because of now the flights are being blocked all over the place. In general, nobody would fly over a country in war or at risk, which makes sense. So there is no impact on our existing business. It will definitely have an impact. I mean, at least in terms of visitors, but it will definitely have an impact on the perspectives we had from these markets. Definitely, that's not going to happen for this year, at least.
Very good. Before I let you go, I want you to paint for us a picture of how the hospitality industry is going to look like in the next 2 years.
Bright, smiling, and positive. you know, we're coming from such a horrible time. You know, before, when you used to have any crisis, hospitality would always be the first to be affected, but also the first to recover. Now, this very specific crisis, because of its nature, because of holding people from traveling, hospitality was the first hit, and sadly is the last to recover.
Yeah.
But we are very, you know, we start to see, I mean, Accor groups just announced their results last year, and 2021 was a bottom line positive, which was the first after 2020. That was a horrible year, as you know. So no, very positive. We're looking to a bright future. People never wanted to travel so much than now. You know, people want to travel. We like our freedom. We like to travel. We like to discover. It's our human nature. So we definitely gonna see more people. I see a fantastic opportunity for Kenya, as long as we embrace it, not only hospitality alone, but government also. We need a really support in there, promotion bureaus, and you know, the MICE, we've been talking about it. We've been pushing and pressing and asking for a proper Congress Center in Nairobi. We deserve it. We are an amazing country in the middle of Africa where we can have, there's a lot of potential. We just need the government to embrace and support on this.
And I know there are some conversations on how to construct a modern convention center, you know, at the Bomas of Kenya.
Yes.
I've lost track. I don't know where they are in terms of those conversations, but I do agree with you that they have taken too long to be implemented. And the Kenyatta International Convention Center, look, has been a fantastic MICE center, but it needs to be upgraded.
Exactly, just like our hotels have needed, and we do in it. We're doing that.
Exactly. Mehdi, thank you very much indeed for finding time to be with us. Good luck and all the best.
Thank you very much.
Asante sana. Very good. We've been talking about the hospitality industry and the impact it had on, because of the COVID-19 complications. And of course, we've been talking to Mehdi Morad, the general manager for Fairmont Hotels, and also the country manager for Akon. Well, you have all heard it from him. My name is O'Brien Kimani. The conversation on the geopolitics of Russia and Ukraine conflict is coming up right here. Why it affects you and why you need to pay attention. Regardless whether you are a farmer in Karachuonyo or a business executive in high offices here in Nairobi. We'll be having this conversation right here. Don't go anywhere.